All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for spending some time with me at Anatomy of Intuition. This is one of my very favorite things to talk about. I'm Tiffany Harlick, and so it looks like most of you already know me. So thanks for hanging out a little early and reminding me how we met. But if you're new to my work, right, I'm Tiffany. I practice in Texas. I have a master's degree in health psychology. So I'm really passionate about bridging that mind, body, health, spirit connection. I have been mediumistic since I was 3 years old. I had a near-death experience when I was 14 that really opened things up for me spiritually. And so I have a bad joke that trauma and drama can open you up psychically. So that's not the way that we're going to do it today, though. We're going to do it through science and through understanding the anatomy of our intuition. And I really think once you understand the anatomy of your intuition, it's going to click into gear. It's going to light things up for you, and you're going to be more intuitive than you realized. So I want to invite my friend Jess to also give a little short intro about herself. So I'm going to pin you, Jess, and just invite you to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hi, everybody. I am Jess Yonda. I am so deeply honored to be with you all here today. And Tiffany, thank you for creating this container. I am so excited to learn from you about all the components of intuition and share what I know to be very symbiotic from both the gut, brain, heart access perspective of intuition as well. So I will be speaking to more of the biochemical component of intuition. So I'm excited to share with you about that. Just a little bit about me. I am originally from Hawaii. So hi, everybody here from Hawaii. It's nice to see you all here. So my background is I graduated from Carnegie Mellon University, and I have degrees in information systems and industrial management. And I spent many years clawing my way up the corporate ladder in a very stressful environment. I was designing trading systems for hyperactive day traders and working on Wall Street, really providing the technology infrastructure to support trading and investing. And I just got really burnt out in 2008. I feel like 2008 was kind of a similar marker moment to 2020. Maybe some of you can relate to that, where with 2008, with the market crashing, I just felt like, gosh, I really wanted to be part of something that wasn't causing people to lose their life savings and their homes. And then in 2020, we all just collectively went through, well, what we just went through, right? So I think, each one of these marker moments has really allowed me to reevaluate my life. Maybe some of you can relate to that here. Who here, and I just love to hear in the chat box, who here is kind of at a pivot or crossroads where you're like, I'm reevaluating everything and wanting to make sure that I am, living my life fullest today and not some arbitrary point in time in the future. Can anybody relate to that? So that's a little, yeah, and yes. So back in 2008, got burnt down to corporate America, decided to leave in 2009 yes, okay, I'm not alone, major crossroads. Okay, that's why we're all here, to really be able to tap into our intuition and trust that we're going to make the next right decision, right? That's why we're here. We're here to learn all of that, mind, body, soul, all of that. It's so important. So I'm so excited. This is going to be so much fun. Okay, so I left corporate America, went into health and wellness entrepreneurship, did that for many, many years. I've worked with over 15,000 clients at this point. But in 2000, back in, about 6 years ago, my own health hit a roadblock, despite knowing all the things, right? Despite like meditating, and I'm 10 years alcohol free, and like exercising, not working a stressful job, all of the things. Despite that, I hit this roadblock and I couldn't remember things. I was having a hard time sleeping. I was having anxiety and depression for the first time. And so that was another crossroads in my life. And that allowed me, or brought me down the path of the gut and the gut-brain connection. And it also, which was the root of my own health issues. So I'm excited to share how maybe that can support you. But yeah, it was that moment where my life changed forever, because I was like, oh, this is, if it's missing for me, and I know all the things and I'm doing all the things, then it must be missing for a lot of people. So I had the opportunity then to bring the first mental wellness company to market, which I'm deeply, deeply honored to be part of. And so there's that component. So I'm a certified mental wellness coach, founder of the mental wellness company, but I also have this deep passion for financial wellness.
Yeah.
And that was my background. I'm a Virgo. Tiffany will tell you. I love investing, wealth building, and really helping women, especially. I don't know if we have any men on here, but women, especially, since we not, just a few decades ago, we got the access to credit, right? So like, we haven't really been taught how to build wealth. It's been kind of a man's world. So I now bring together my mental wellness and nervous system regulation coaching with helping women to put the systems in place to grow and compound their wealth, especially if they are wanting to live a work optional life or retire in this lifetime, right? So that is a little bit about my background, and I'm excited to be here with all of you today. And thank you for having me on, Tiffany.
Heck yeah, I'm so honored to have you on, and I'm so excited to share Jess with you guys. So let me give you a little bit of a flow of the day. We're going to spend about an hour and a half together. Um, let's see. Share my screen. Here we go. Here we go. Sorry, I'm a little clunky still. I do this every day, every week, and I still am just a little clunky. So we're talking about anatomy of intuition today. Can everybody hear me? Sounds good. Okay, nice and clear. If you need to find me, I'm at tiffanyharlick.com if you need to drop off anytime, and we'll be sharing some links throughout the hour and a half together. If you just kind of did that, so if you want to tell me what you're most excited about learning about your intuition, let me know so I make sure I can cover it and touch on it today. You are all intuitive. You were all born psychic. Just like, we have hair and eyes and nose and a mouth, all of these extend into the spiritual world. So all of your senses extend into the spiritual world, and that's what you can use to harness your intuition. So if anybody thinks that they're not intuitive, you are, and I can help you. I can really help you unlock that. And I hope you get so much out of today. Um, Oh, I didn't know I had a slide transition. Fancy. So this is what we're going to talk. We're going to go through intention, the brain science behind setting intentions. We're going to talk about the body. I have this in pink because if we are not neurochemically regulated in our body, none of this is really going to click into gear. Like, this is the most important, taking care of your physical health when you're wanting to be an intuitive channel. So that's why it's pink. Then we're going to talk about the mind, the soul, the aura, and the chakras. And then we're also going to touch into styles of intuitive connection. So we'll play it by ear. I have a couple exercises if anybody wants to practice their intuition throughout our hour. And let's just get started. Let's jump in. So why learn about intuition at all? You never know what you're training for. You never know when you're going to need that intuition to kick into gear for you. And astrologically speaking, we're recording this at a time. It's funny that Jess was talking about, is anybody at a crossroads? I didn't prep her, guys. She's not in our astrology world yet. Okay. She's going to be, I think, but she's not in the astrology world yet. So we have an eclipse going on right now, tomorrow, right? And so all of us are feeling that sense of urgency and that sense of, yeah, I'm at a crossroads. But you never know when you're going to need to access that intuition. So you might as well train and prepare for it. This is something that my yoga teacher taught me. You might as well train, do the yoga, sit and meditate so that when that person backs into your electrical pole this morning, that you don't have a reaction, right? That you have trained yourself and that you can breathe through it and that you have a solution, that there is an answer that you can access. We also, astrologically speaking, have Jupiter moving into Gemini. So we're recording this in March of 2024. And in May of 2024, Jupiter, the planet of expansion and abundance and the magnifying glass, is moving into Gemini, right? Which is the sign of the twins and duality and information exchange. And so a lot of astrologers are predicting information overwhelm, overload, too much data. So we're on our phones too much. We're on our laptops too much. We're looking and getting and pouring in information at a much larger rate than our ancestors did. And so we're already overstimulated mentally. And so we need that intuition piece to really help us discern what information is true for us and not. So let's see. I really wish I didn't have those transitions. Here's why we don't trust our intuition. If I missed something, please teach me. Please tell me why you don't trust your intuition. For some people, it's religion. You know, they grew up a certain way. They're afraid that being psychic or working your psychic skills is wrong. I understand that. You know, some of us, it's cultural conditioning or social programming. Some of us, it's just homogenization, you know, that we live in a culture where you're supposed to do the thing. You're supposed to go to college and get the job and get married and do, you know, you have this life timeline planned out. That's homogenization. And we're not all built to do that lifestyle, right? So some of us lose our intuition when we are forced into a lifestyle that's really unnatural for us. There's a huge overemphasis on being analytical, right, in school, and logical, and going through the steps, and using your mind as opposed to using your body or your heart or your aura or your chakras. What a different world this would be if we were teaching our children that, right? Some of us are afraid because of negative past experiences, or we lost touch. It's like I used to play piano, and I just hate that I can't play it as well as I used to could. You like that Texas saying, used to could? Um, but so I am frustrated as I'm getting back into it, right? You might have lost touch with your intuition. It might be frustrating to get back into it, but keep going. You might not really know how it works. You might be looking for answers outside yourself. You know, we all go through that period. You might not be biochemically regulated. You know, you might be in a nervous system that's in fight or flight or stress reaction. And you might not be trusting the spirit of the universe to really be able to talk to you, you know, to really provide solutions and answers for you. So, Jody, yeah, you can take pictures of slides, no problem. Thanks for asking. That's sweet. Oh my gosh, Misha, our hearts go out to you. Everybody will be praying for you. Um, where are you naturally intuitive? I want you to think about that as we go into our hour and a half. If when you are considering how you receive intuitive information, do you kind of hear something? Is it like this picture, like a movie? Like, this is how I am mostly intuitive. It's this, I remember things kind of like a movie. It's like this recall of a non-local reality. It's like, oh, you know, you can, if you think about the movie scene and it starts to come available for you, that's psychic seeing, right? Some people have the gift of tasting and feeling and smelling. You know, have you ever woke up in the morning and you smell coffee and there's nobody making coffee and you're like, what is happening, right? Yeah. Or have you ever been walking and you, or like just at any place, and you smell this whiff of roses or perfume and there's nobody there? You know, you might have a gift. You might have a visit from spirit. You might have be picking up on something intuitively in the field. So intentions in the brain, intentions is the very first thing that we need to really understand when we're talking about intuition. This prefrontal cortex, it is, yes, our executive functions. It helps us with planning and decision making and goals, right? And so when we set an intention, this prefrontal cortex area is really what is activated and really what we're talking about. So to put something into your intention, you're putting it right here. You're putting it in your third eye. You're putting it in your prefrontal cortex. And then the anterior cingulate cortex. This is where the brain says, okay, she's made an intention, and now how are we going to execute that? So setting intentions really lights that part of the brain up and helps us get it done, you know, helps us get it done. So intentions and the neurochemicals, you've got dopamine, right, and serotonin. So when we set intentions, dopamine is released. Can you believe that? Did you know that? Do you guys know that? So when you set intentions, right, you already feel a little better about yourself, right? So my intention is to give you clear, concise, and accurate information in a way that you can understand, in a way that flows, that's easy for you to absorb, that helps you be more intuitive, healthier, and more clear with the life that you want to live. So same thing, right, with serotonin. It impacts your serotonin positively, so you feel more confident. So just setting an intention helps your brain chemistry help you get the thing done that you want. It also helps with neuroplasticity, right? So neuroplasticity helps our brains make those intentions and habits and things that we say that we want more concrete over time. So yeah, in addition to setting intentions, it can really support your psychic development to just practice it consistently, regularly, right? So if you sit down for meditation at 7 a.m. for 20 minutes every morning, at some point along the way, whether it's day 7 or day 21 or day 2, your brain's going to be like, oh, she wants to meditate. I'm going to do this with her, right? I'm going to agree to meditate with her. And so this setting intentions and making habits is going to help the whole intuitive process be easier to access. So if it's not just like, oh, I need to be intuitive because there's an emergency, right? It's like, no, I have a practice. I have a spiritual hygiene, and this is regular. And this, when I set this intention, my body knows what to do. All right, so these are the 5 lenses that we are going to access intuitive information. We're going to talk about the body first. The body carries the soul, right? The body is the temple. So that's why it is the most important piece when we're talking about the foundation of intuition. The body is, right? It carries everything. The mind protects and guides the aura, right? And so if any of you have been in accidents or had a situation where your mind had to protect you from feeling a significant amount of pain, right? This is one way that the mind can protect the aura. Many more examples of that. The soul protects the mind, the aura protects the chakras, and the chakras again protect the body. So when you're doing psychic readings and you're looking at the chakra system, you're also reading the health of the physical body. Okay, same with the aura too. So we're going to get into all of these nice and juicy. What does intuition feel like in the body? Sometimes we get butterflies in our stomach. Sometimes we get a little queasy. Sometimes we get a little nervous. You know that feeling like if you're at school or somewhere and you know that you're supposed to be the one to talk next, and you're like, you get that nervousness and you're like supposed to raise your hand and you don't really want to, but there's something inside of you inspiring you to say something. That's that nervousness feeling. It's actually not nervousness. When I was little and I had and I was 3, it was Halloween. I was actually 2. I was turning 3. It was Halloween, and my bed fell. And so I was letting my parents know that there were ghosts in the house. There was spirit. Spirit was there. But of course, at the time, right, in the early 80s, that was like, okay, Tiffany, whatever. However, what happened was that's how I started to experience anxiety, right? Because I could see and hear and feel something that nobody else could acknowledge. And so this feeling of anxiety, is it really anxiety? Are you really nervous? Are you really having butterflies? Or is spirit there? Is your intuition talking to you? Right? So next time you have nervousness or anxiety, ask yourself, is that actually spirit giving me a whisper or my intuition telling me something? We can also feel intuition in the body through our heart. Your heart will tighten up when it's not the right thing for you. You'll brace against something. Your heart will feel soft and warm and open when it is the right thing. We have goosebumps. Do you guys get goosebumps? Some people get cold, some people get hot, some people get tingles. Some people have hair stand up on the back of their neck, right? Mine's like that all the time. I'm not tuned into spirit right now. Okay, and then muscle testing. So you can actually access your intuition through muscle testing. I have an exercise that I use called the body pendulum that I love to teach. So anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. In terms of your body, right? The 3 brains, the gut, the brain, and the heart axis, your body is the barometer, the main barometer for information. So you have to kind of get used to feeling things, whether it's physically, emotionally, with your spiritual vision. You have to really appreciate the body temple that you're in and know that it's trying to give you some information, right? If you have a headache, your body's trying to tell you something. If you're cold, your body's trying to tell you something. Our intuition is also linked to our limbic system. I was talking about the prefrontal cortex earlier. It's linked more to the right side of the brain and the hippocampus and the digestive system, which Jess is going to teach about more fully. But I have a question for you. Do you think women are more intuitive than men? What do you think? 222, awesome. Yes. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, they are. But actually, there's a reason why, right? The corpus callosum, that connective tissue that connects right brain to left brain, is thicker in women than in men. And all that means is that women's brains are more efficient at connecting that intuitive spark between right brain and left brain. Women's brains are more efficient at accessing and integrating emotion and gut feelings. And so that's why sometimes we call it a mother's intuition, right? It's that feminine intuition. So women, we're talking about how we feel, and that makes sense to us. But to the brain of someone born with male hormones, right, their corpus callosum is thinner, and they're not prepared to talk about feelings. They're always over here in that, or here in that left analytical side, thinking. So as a woman, if you're born with female hormones and you're talking to somebody with male hormones, right, that you can say, here's how I feel, when's a good time to talk? And that will allow them to say, okay, I can place that somewhere, and I can get ready to get over into that emotional side of my brain. So you want to say how you feel, and then ask them how they think, what they think. They know what they think. That's an easy thing to access with a male born brain. So, we're taught how to think in school. We're taught what to think with the media, right? But we're not always taught how to feel. And so that's why I say what you think doesn't matter as much. And the opposite of mind is heart, right? So in the medicine wheel, when we're studying the medicine wheel, the opposite of thinking, overthinking something, is going to be to drop into your heart and to open up your emotional capacity to connect in that way. It's not natural to everyone, but you do have the biology to work with this. So the heart intuition connection, people say, listen to your heart, right? You have a gut feeling, listen to your heart. We're not saying, what do you think? What's the pro and con list? What's the analytical spreadsheet way to figure this out? This is about, the heart intuition is about listening into your heart. So some of the research is really powerful in neurocardiology, and it says, yeah, there is bidirectional communication between the heart and the brain. Jess is going to teach specifically about this, but basically everything's communicating to each other, right? And I thought it was interesting to learn that a high heart rate variability is also linked to improved cognitive function and intuition. And so they're just talking about a physiological basis for the heart's role in being intuitive. So, this is part of your body, and so if we've got to have healthy hearts to also have clear pathways to our intuition. So Heart Math Institute is a great resource for anybody looking for more information on that specifically. If you do heart focused breathing, mindfulness, all of this really does actually neurochemically help with fostering a greater intuition and clarity. So what is the body, right? One of the 5 things that we want to address today. What does the body need for high performance intuition? All the things you already know. There's nothing crazy here. You need to do your yoga. You need to eat well. That's different for everybody. I'm not promoting a certain diet. You know how to eat for your body. I probably didn't put water in because I did. Good job, Tiffany. I'm working on my water today, guys. But you know how to take care of your physical body. I think the other ones are going to be a little bit more interesting to you. And specifically, Jess and I put together an intuition protocol to help support your body that she's going to go over too. So what does intuition feel like in the mind? This is the second of the 5 that we want to teach about today. So in the mind, right, this feels like seeing clairvoyantly, like I have that spiritual vision. So I'm not just walking around looking at ghosts, seeing people walk through the living room. I'm not just all the time tuned in and seeing, through things or beyond what is there for me to see. But when I am trying to connect intuitively and psychically, that's my strongest sense. I can just kind of access seeing like a memory. And so the seeing part of your mind comes from the optic nerve, right? Some people are really great at smelling and tasting. This comes from the olfactory bulb. In the olfactory bulb, right, when you have a smell, it also ignites a memory. So sometimes when you're accessing your intuition and you have a memory of something, that's not for nothing. you know? Spirit gave that to you, your own intuition gave that to you, that memory to you, because there's something there for you to access and to say, and that other person in front of you needs to hear. So smelling. So like if I were to walk around the room and just give you guys a bunch of coffee beans, right, and you smell that, that would activate some kind of memory, good or bad, doesn't matter. If I was to walk around the room with a bunch of roses, it would activate some kind of memory, because smell and memory are linked. So when you're learning how to access intuition through the mind, it's important to separate the senses, be extra hyper aware of, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm smelling, this is what I'm tasting, this is what I'm hearing. Now, hearing in the mind can get a little wacky, because this is where we have, I just recycled or gave my old DSM-4 away. I am not in the business of diagnosing through health psychology anymore. And the hearing is one of the places where people feel crazy, you know, and you can access hearing in many different ways. It comes from the top of the head, the top of the brain. Hearing can just be like a blurb or a word that you actually hear in your mind's ear, I guess you could say. Hearing can be like a memory of a song that's coming to you. Hearing can be like, we do this exercise in my psychic development classes where you listen to a piece of music and you separate out the different instruments. So you listen to it and you only listen to the drum beat, even though everything else is going on. And then we'll listen to it again and you only listen to the bass, you know, and you start to fine tune your hearing. And if you can, I always say squint your ear balls. I know that's weird. If you can squint your ear balls and start to separate what you're hearing, you know, that will absolutely increase your intuition. So right now, you can probably hear 5 or 6 things going on. I can hear the wind chimes outside. I can hear the flickering of my candle down here, right? I can hear the dog and the cat over here. It's quiet, but I am hyper aware of sounds because I have trained my earballs. Okay. All right. So your mind, why can your brain read that? What's the stuff in the pink? Why can that happen? You know, when we're doing psychic readings or when we're accessing our intuition, the brain is going to help us out. It's going to fill in the parts that we're not really clear on, right? And so our brain is really conditioned to make something make sense. That can get us into trouble, right? That's where hearing that one word, just a one word drop in, can start to make the whole picture that you're intuiting make sense. So again, these are things that I love to help, skills I love to help you develop in our psychic classes. But you can read that, right? Your mind is reading this automatically without even thinking about it. Isn't that weird? You know, and doing stuff like that, these little exercises do increase your intuition. Uh, Chrysolite, can it be a high pitched sound? Sure. Maybe ask me more what you mean about that. Um, Hearing and smell is high for Stephanie. Unfortunately, not seeing. You know, all of this is trainable. You can learn to play the piano. You can learn to play the flute. You can learn to play the guitar. You can learn to play football. You can learn to do anything you want to do, play, right? And so we just start thinking about this as playing with our intuition. Stephanie's a left-hander using the right side more. Does this also mean more intuition? Yeah, I mean, it could. It could. I have a lot of left-hand people in my family. I am not. Patrice, absolutely, men can be very intuitive. There's nothing against men. I'm just talking about the brain as it is different anatomy, anatomically. Yeah, nice. Okay, caught up on the comments. The role of the mind in intuition, right? So the brain is a constantly absorbing information. So what you see, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, you know, whether or not you are tuned into that, your senses are all working right now and hyper focusing on things. The intuitive process involves the integration of all of these different stimuli, right, to put into some kind of holistic understanding. So for me, that's why when I look out upon the world, if it's not organized, my brain starts like, and I have to organize and clean and clear something before I can be intuitive. I'm not going to go be intuitive in, you know, like a cluster zone, you know. So that's just me. So your mind is always trying to make sense of what is there. So what does the mind really need in high performance intuition? So you have to be in a healthy emotional state, right? If you are fighting with your boyfriend, girlfriend, if your kids are triggering you, your parents, your family, your job, if you are not in a balanced emotional state, it is harder to get access to your intuition. There's lots of tools and resources for that. Of course, I'm here to help you. Nutrition that's going to support your mind, right? We have several people in my family, right, that have had or passed from diseases of the mind, and that's very frustrating. So I want to be on the path of supporting these three axes, right? Meditation, of course, breath work, brain training for focus, balance. Like that's why I love yoga so much. If you just, even if you don't go to yoga class, if you just pick up one foot and try to balance, if while you're putting your shorts on or whatever, you know, that balancing practice helps you train your brain to focus. Um, Having a neutral nervous system, and then of course financial self-care. You know, the finances are such, we just don't talk about that enough, and that's why I love reconnecting with Jess. We've been friends for over 20 years. She is my financial coach, and she's also my health coach, and so I'm just so excited that she's going to tell us more about this. But the financial self-care, how many of you worry about money, you know? And it's a constant thing for your brain to be firing about. It's ridiculous. So if we get ahead of that, right? If we get ahead of that, just ran a free workshop. I'm sure she would email you a copy if you wanted Jess's financial workshop. Put that in the comments, and I'm sure she will get that to you. But if you're constantly worried about money, you're really not able to access your intuition to that full capacity. You know, there's something that's mysteriously bothering you all month long. Did I pay that bill? How am I going to pay that bill? What's coming up next? The mind has to be relaxed about our finances, and we do that, you know, strategically through you know, we do that strategically. It doesn't have to be a surprise. It doesn't have to be a mystery. Even for me, who makes non-traditional, unpredictable income, right? I can have a balanced mind there. It's really important. So question for you, what would it be like for you to feel what you know intuitively? What would that be like? What would that be like? Yeah. Yeah. I see that. I see you guys. Okay, great. So I am going to ask Jess to come back on and teach us a little bit about the brain, the mind, body, gut health, heart connection, and our intuition. And then I will come back and work with soul, aura, and chakras. So I'll be back. Thank you for managing the chat there, Jess. And I'll be back in the chat, and I will pin you. Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Wow, that was really amazing. I have a page full of notes. I was like, oh, don't bring me on. I'm not finished with this sentence. Yeah, just you bring it together in such a coherent way. I know, like, whenever you speak, Tiffany, all of this makes sense. And I just so appreciate your ability to be able to lead and communicate this and help people put it together. So thank you. All right. I am super excited to be sharing this next section. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment box. And for those of you who had requested access to my last workshop, I'll get that over to you. I'll get the link over to you. Yeah, because so much of worry, like Tiffany was saying, you know, if you have underlying financial worry, then all of this is out the door, right? You can't access anything. You can't access your intuition. You can't access your prefrontal cortex. Like Tiffany said, it's this underlying dysregulation in the nervous system that has the ability to ripple out through every area of your life. So what, and I'm not going to talk about the financial piece too much, but what solves financial anxiety, right? Or financial worry? You know, there is maybe there's an income component, right? That could be part of it. But for most people, it's like not understanding where they are, where they're going, not feeling like they have a clear plan in place, not feeling like they're on track, whatever that means to them, right? Because they don't understand basic, you know, financial concepts and investing. And so what if you had the systems in place and all of that on autopilot to just know that you're on track, right? And then when you have that on track, it's like, okay, maybe there is an income issue and we need to increase that. So it all links together. And then again, having this in place in the background, just really on autopilot, then it allows you, it frees up the space, right, to show up fully in every area of your life, which, allows you to do this work. It's so secular, right? I mean, it's like it affects each other. So let's talk a little bit about the mind-body connection, because if you are not biochemically regulated, then you're not able to hold any of this work. And I remember, and I know I'm in the right place, and all of you will know this, or you'll say, me too, me too. I have done so much personal development and work. Who here is with me? Anybody? So yes, and I'm a seeker. I'm assuming you all are here as seekers as well. And yes, right. And so I did all of the things. I remember when I wanted to quit drinking, I hired a coach. Right. It didn't end up, that wasn't the thing that initially, allowed me to quit drinking. But I just look back on my whole journey of, trauma work, of plant medicine work, of, silent meditation retreats, all the different courses I've taken. And none of that really stuck until I learned how to regulate my body at a biochemical level. Right. It's like you go and get an adjustment from a chiropractor. And again, if your vagus nerve isn't regulated, if it isn't, unblocked, right? That's the whole point of a chiropractic adjustment, is to, make sure there's no blockages in the nerves, right? And so if it's blocked, you don't really get the benefits. Same with this, same with holding the work, because once you're biochemically regulated, you're able to have the motivation to stick to the thing. How many of you have taken a course and not being able to stick to the thing, or even do the course that you buy, right? It's that, right? So, again, this helps you hold the ability to be able to do the work and make it a way of life. So that's what I'm really passionate about teaching people, because if you're investing all of this time and money and resources into bettering your life and the life of those around you, you want it to be able to work, right? So, okay, nervous system 101. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, nervous system work. So I'm excited to dive into that. Fight, flight, freeze. Who here feels, and you can just raise your hand for those of you I can see, although this is so much fun. Who here feels like they operate mostly from a place of fight or flight? Anybody? Yeah, right? I mean, so do you feel like you're going to be able to access intuition if you're in that place? No, right? Because we're unable to access that prefrontal cortex that Tiffany spoke to. So that is a cortisol response that needs to be recalibrated. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the three brains, and I'm excited to dive in. So I don't know if I have access to move the slides. Okay. All right. So what would it feel like in your body? What would it feel like to be able to, and I have some notes here because it was just so powerful after everything that Tiffany said. What would it be like to be able to feel what you know, right? And that is going back to that deep trust, that intuition. And that happens, that your ability to be able to feel what you know, which is your intuition, knowing you're on the right path, knowing that the next step that you make is the right step, right? Then right next step. So what would it be like to be able to feel that knowing, right? And that's what happens when we calibrate the brains, the three brains of our body. And we're going to jump into what that is. Has anybody here heard of the second brain? Anybody? Yeah, how about the third brain? No, yeah, okay, all right, cool, fun. Okay, next slide. So this is so much fun because once you see this kind of laid out in a way that is understandable, you're going to be like, well, of course, like we knew this all along, but the science just wasn't there, right? Of course, we know we have this thinking brain. Who spends a lot of time in the ruminating thinking? Anybody? That the Virgo in me will do that for you if you do not. So that is the logical, the analytical. I'm always running scenarios in my head, rational. That is our thinking brain, right? And then we have our sensing brain, which so much of what we're talking about today is that intuition is our sensing brain, which is our gut, which is why exactly what Tiffany said about being able to feel what that feels like in your body. Somebody stops quickly in front of you, you feel that in your body, that sense of like angst, or you walk by something that's not, there's something out of place there. It's that intuitive feeling that something isn't right or something is right. Right. We also can feel that when you're like, you have a full body yes. You're like, yes. So that is the sensing brain, very reactive. It's visceral, as Tiffany explained. In fact, I have goosebumps just talking about it with you all. And then you have your heart, which is that feeling. That is when I say, what would it be like to feel what you know? So to have all of this communicating and signaling correctly through, across these three brains through something called the axis. What would that be like to have all of this, optimized and kind of knowing that it's all recalibrated correctly? It's life-changing, I'll say that. Anybody here feel like their brain is low on cell phone bars? Yeah, I just want to touch a little bit on the neurodegenerative disease that you spoke to, Tiffany, because I know that was your mom's experience and that's my dad's experience, right? Does anybody here know anybody with Alzheimer's, dementia, or Parkinson's? Yeah, so much of that is a gut-brain axis. It's dysregulation, right? And so just to know that we can we can nutritionally support that is really good to know now, as opposed to when it's too late, right? And so how do these three brains communicate? They communicate through the axis, that is the vagus nerve, right? That connects the gut to the brain and then goes out to all of your organs. It's biochemically, it's through your immune system, right? So all of this is considered your axis and it all talks to each other in a really cool way. So let's go to the next slide and we'll jump into a little bit more about what this looks like from your sensing brain. Okay.
Before we do that, are you talking about in the chat the heart, the anatomic heart, literally, or the metaphoric heart?
The anatomic, like you can feel it in your heart that it is the right decision, right? I guess it's a little bit of both.
It
I
is.
mean, yeah, yeah. But when you're regulated, you can trust it, right? Because you're, you have the resilience, you have the ability to stop and pause. I will say, before I knew this information, like if somebody cut me off in traffic, I was like, no, that would send me into a tailspin, right? Before I got regulated. I'm just being real with y'all. This has been a work in progress of 15 years. And so, but once I learned how to get this all regulated from a biochemical perspective, and then also from a, the work perspective, right? Now somebody can cut me off and I'm like, maybe they have somewhere they need to be. Maybe I'm going to let the gas off a little bit and let them in, right? That was not me 15 years ago. I would try to tail them. I would be screaming at them, so it's like, this is what we are looking to build, that regulation. And so much of that is through the gut, right? Because your gut is your second brain. And it actually communicates with your brain, the thinking brain, 90% one way, this way, right? And I know, like, we've all probably thought and been, it's been common, belief over the years that your brain talks to everything else. Well, now there's new science around that, right? Now we know that it talks 90% one way, this way, and it communicates with the brain to regulate everything: your mood, your stress levels, your cortisol response, your immune function, your digestion, your weight, and more. And of course, what we put in our body affects the gut or the microbiome, and that in turn affects everything else, right? So we know it's kind of, what is it? Junk in, junk out. What do I want to say? Yeah. So we just have to be mindful of that. But when it's in balance, things are flowing, right? Like life makes sense. The next right thing just appears. You're like, yes, I am doing this thing called life and it's working. But when we're out of balance, oh my goodness, I mean, it looks different in me than it does in Tiffany or in you, right? And it could be manifesting as, fatigue or, anxiety or depression or pain. And this is an interesting one. And I think this group will appreciate this more than anything else. So, pain and anxiety and depression are the same thing, just manifested differently in the body. Did you know that? When I learned this, it was like a big light bulb, right? So you're either manifesting it mentally or you're manifesting it physically. And that is a dysbiosis of the gut that's unable to produce that serotonin, right? So when I learned that, I was like, oh, doesn't that make sense? Right? So interesting to think about. So it could be, you're in pain. It could be are metabolically stuck, right? It could be that you have brain fog and can't remember, what you walked into the room for, and what you just talked to your husband about. That used to be me. He would say the next day, he's like, don't you remember having that conversation? I'd be like, no, I don't. And that was scary. I was like, oh my gosh, am I getting dementia in my early 40s, right? So you really want this to be on point. And what's really cool is there are newly sequenced probiotic strains that have been shown to improve mental health. So anxiety, depression, cortisol, norepinephrine, which is your, ability to manage stress and your ability to focus, GABA, whether you're able to relax at night or whether your brain is just like, who here when your head hits the pillow is like all bets are off, right? It's like the to-do list is going. So it's like there are new strains to support that. Now, a lot of you probably know about gut health and you know that it's important. And I knew it was important too in my 15 years of working with people, but I didn't realize that the strain of probiotic needed to match the health outcome I was looking to achieve. So when I was experiencing, insomnia and anxiety, which was like, who am I? That's not me, right? I never even really took people serious. I'm just being transparent. I never really took people seriously that was even real until I had it, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is really, so aren't we presented with everything that we need to learn, right? Isn't that the gift of this lifetime? It's like, oh, I needed to learn that. I needed to feel it for myself so I can walk, with my clients better. So I just have to give, that just cracks me up because who else? Everything you need to learn ends up affecting you, right? Okay, so that is the second brain, the gut. It explains why you have the feelings. And let's go to the next one. And just because I'm a Virgo, I put some stats on here for you. But this some stats. So, 100 trillion cells in the gut microbiome. There was a human genome project that sequenced the genes, but there was also a microbiome project that sequenced all of the microbiome, which is really freaking cool. And through that, we've learned that we have 23,000 human genes, but 20 million bacterial genes, right? So we're 1,000 times more bacterial genes than we are human genes, which means we're basically just one cesspool of bacteria. When you think about that, is really weird. And, so that's what's happening in our body, right? Our second brain is 3 to 4 pounds. It's approximately the same size as our first brain. And so perspective, right? Like, what are we all doing on this earth? It's like when you start to think like this, it's just, maybe we don't take ourselves so seriously, right? So anyways, that's a little bit of the fun stats there. And then how does all of this communicate? And we talked a little bit about this on the first slide, but that third brain, and we're really focusing on the heart because that's our intuitive brain, right? So that the 40,000 neurons in our heart can really sense and feel and learn and remember, right? But only if it is calibrated, only if it's working correctly, only if it's working efficiently, right? And similar to the gut brain axis, which is how the gut talks to the brain through the vagus nerve, it also, through those neurons, the heart calibrates with the gut and the brain as well. And it's the heart sends messages to the brain about what it needs. So I think, Tiffany, when you talked about clear pathways, this is what I think about, right? Clear pathways in your nervous system, clear pathways in your cardiovascular system, clear pathways in your your gut, right? Your digestive tract and your immune system. And, so much of what we've seen, especially with the pandemic and kind of the after effect of that has been issues with the heart, right? So it's like, how do we get all of that recalibrated through this massive, viral pandemic we just lived through? So just some things to think about here. When that's not working, all of this is not working, you're not going to be able to really tap into that. So what Tiffany and I have put together is a intuition protocol that will get to the root cause and really just allow you in one fell swoop to get all these things regulated. And so I'm excited to share a little bit more about that with you. And if it's something you want to lean in on, great, and zero pressure either way, right? So this is the protocol that that totally changed my life 6 years ago. And a few of the things in there is we have a mood product there, which reduces stress and cortisol by 70% within 20 minutes. And the reason why I say this one, because who wouldn't like a yoga class in a bottle, right? I mean, you need to do the yoga too, but wouldn't it be nice, to be able to have this? And I remember when I first started on this and I didn't like to travel and fly on an airplane, I had all these dysregulated feelings about life, right? And this really has allowed me to just go with the flow, right? This will also help optimize that communication between the gut and the brain and the heart, right? So that's signaling. And when I talk about optimizing the communication, I want to make sure I think I said this, but the gut produces 60 to 90% of your feel good chemicals, right? Your dopamine, your serotonin, your norepinephrine, your GABA, and that it's able to do that when it's fed the right probiotic and prebiotic strains, right? But once those are there, we want it signaling to the brain correctly, right? We want the serotonin to get to the brain so that we're happy and that we are able to then, what is the precursor to serotonin? It's melatonin, whether or not we're able to sleep at night, right? So we really want all of that communication optimized. Another thing that's really important in this is getting your hormones back into your natural balance. And it doesn't contain hormones. It just brings you back. So you're able to not experience the highs and the lows. Where are my high and low people? Where are the pendulum all or nothing people? Anybody? Yes. So it's like, how do we get that, a little bit less all or nothing? And it's helpful, all of these products. So we also have the heart product in there, which resyncs brain waves to your heart rhythm. That's really cool. We also are supporting the digestion there, the digestive tract, with the ability just to support to break down and absorb nutrients from food. That's also really important. You're not absorbing the nutrients from food, then what is your brain running on? What is your body running on, right? Yeah, it's not good. And then we're also recalibrating appetite signaling and metabolic response because, and I'll just end on this. When you're stressed, do you end up in a drive-through that you said you're never going to end up in, maybe, right? Or you end up, and I joke around because all of a sudden I'll be like in a Chick-fil-A drive. I'm like, I don't even eat Chick-fil-A, but and this one thing, when I'm really stressed out, I'll want that, right? And so we need to resync that signaling so that you're not, one decision away from eating something you wouldn't normally eat. And we can do that just by getting everything, recalibrated. So I hope this was helpful. We do, if you want to order this, let us know. We have a link ready for you at the intuitionprotocol.com.
I don't have the link ready, but I will
Never
put
mind.
it. I'll put the link that I texted you. I tried to do that and it screwed the screen up, so I'll put it in the chat once I stop sharing my
Okay.
screen. But there's just you don't have to go put it in your cart. It's just all ready to go. Sharon is asking, is it vegan, plant-based?
Yes, everything is vegan and plant-based except for our omega-3s, which are fish-based. Yeah, so that would be the only thing. It's not even part of this protocol, but we do have an omega-3, which is great for depression. So that is not vegan. If there's any other questions, pop them in the chat box. I will answer them as Tiffany continues. But I hope, did everyone think this was helpful? Is that helpful to understand the gut, the brain, the heart, and like the importance of making it all, biochemically regulated, and that how cool is that we can actually do something about it, right? Now that we've known that, but now we have it's like we have the knowing and now we have the doing. So thank you. And Tiffany, I'll throw it back to you.
Okay, so I'm going to skip our practice round because we've got 30 minutes left and I want to honor that and I want to get you through the material. First of all, before I go forward, I just want you to know that this really has really changed things for me because there's a lot of teachers, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of things that you should do or shouldn't do. I didn't know that there were different strains of like particularly probiotics for my gut that would help my intuition. And this is the first time in my life that I'm sleeping all the way through the night. I'm not on my high highs and low lows. I'm not feeling too much, and I'm so intuitive, and I can hear the butterfly flap its wings in Tokyo. It's like I can access all of this in a normal way, and it feels so. My readings are better, mo better, and I'm not doing it in a crazy way. I'm not microdosing. I'm not fasting for a week. I'm not doing all this stuff that's highly marketed out there. This has just got my body back in order. And I'll do a humble brag about how badass my readings were this last couple of weeks, and how good my sleep was, and how I'm digesting stuff. Some of you guys know that I've had a big health journey, a couple of different issues going on, especially with the surgery that I've had recently. So recalibrating that gut lining has just totally changed everything for me. We're going to move into the soul. So our soul has no age, our soul has no gender. When we're talking about connecting with spirit guides, we all want the human mind, the human ego wants our spirit guide to be a name, to be a gender, to be a certain culture, to have a certain love language. And the truth is, that you can do that so that the mind can have like a name for your teddy bear. But the truth is, there's really not, there's really not a gender or an age. What is the soul? I have this funny story. My daughter, when my uncle died, and I was, this is several years ago, and I didn't make her go to the funeral. My family had mixed emotions about that they let me know. But I didn't see the point in taking her along. She didn't know him. And I wanted to hang out with my cousins. This was a time of grief, but I still wanted to educate my daughter about the soul. And I said, honey, when the body dies, I mean, and y'all, she was like 7, she's like a cute little first grader. Do you guys need me to pin myself? Add pin. Is that better for some of you? I don't know. But yeah, I said, yeah, honey, when the body dies, and she rolls her eyes and she goes, the spirit lives on. It's like something that I must have said many times, because she was just so emphatic about it, which was hilarious to me. But that's true. Have you ever sat with a pet at the time of their crossing Rainbow Bridge? Have you ever sat with a loved one at the time of their crossing? There's a sense, when the soul leaves the body there, and so the body is what houses the soul. And so the soul plays into the anatomy of our intuition. We can't ignore that part. The soul is the part of us that has a deep knowing, that has that deja vu experience. I'm not big on past lives, but I've had a couple things the last week that have got me thinking other thoughts now. So you're going to have to visit with me later on my thoughts on past lives, which is totally evolved. The soul knows karma. The soul knows sacred contracts. Jess's soul and I knew that we were going to get together in this lifetime, and we've had many and many incarnations of our friendships. All of you here had a soul contract to sit with us today and learn something about your physical health that could help you be more intuitive. There's some agreement that goes on at the soul level that you just feel like you're called to be here today. There's a deep inner resonance with something bigger than you. This is thy will, not my will. This is something that is connected to that universal spirit, that goddess. So what does the soul need for high performance? Got to have a healthy vessel, body. Got to have a body. We need to be aware of these sacred soul contracts. We need connection. We need community. I host a Facebook group. It's my spiritual development group. It's such a cool group. I love you guys. How many of you guys are in my Facebook group? I mean, you get the best advice, the connection there. It's one of the first things I like checking, because I'm like, oh, what's going on in everybody's life? And we need that community, that sense of connection. It's the opposite of addiction, right? Is connection. Desire, passion. These are the things our soul needs. Purpose, vision. If you're not lit up by something at the soul level, your intuition is going to not be 100%. It's going to be like, kind of not there. If you're not having that clarity in your soul, right, that's also going to be a little depression on your intuition. So what does intuition feel like in the aura? I'm switching into aura for a moment. This is where we blend energies. This is where we have an expansion. You know, if you sit with me in a psychic reading or a mediumship reading or even an astrology reading, right? You're going to go through a meditation with me to expand your aura. I'm going to expand mine, and we are going to meet in the mists, right? And so the aura has many, many layers to it, which is my next slide. But this is where we have this blending. The aura is where we have this telepathic communication. This is where we have our group think, is because we've blended into the creative, consciousness of the universe. This is where we have interdimensional or mediumistic connections with those that have crossed over. Has anybody been touched by spirit? Have you been like you felt like you got a kiss on your cheek, or you felt like somebody brushed your arm, or put that in the chat because I can't see everybody. If you guys are, yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, if you've been touched by spirit, sometimes that's unwelcome. Sometimes that's unwanted. Sally says yes, kisses. Victoria says a ghost has spooned her. Does yes. Patrice, yes. Happened in 2020 for Misha. Absolutely, Brandy. Not touched, but saw someone. So this idea of being touched by spirit, like, I mean, I've been in a hotel where I like reached around to like slap my friend and there was nobody there, but I know I got touched. You know, this is the etheric aura and the etheric template, which is in the next slide. But my short little ghost story is that I was training horses in North Carolina, and I was in a room where there were 3 girls. There was 3 beds in the room. It was a student housing situation. And I was rolled over facing the wall, like desperately trying to get to sleep, right? Which I can't do with there's other people in the room, but I'm like trying to sleep. And I felt somebody sit down on the bed next to me. And again, it scared me. I like reached around to slap my friend. There's nobody there, and there's butt impressions on the bed by me. Nobody's there, you know, and this was a known haunted barn where the water would come on all the time in the middle of the night. But this idea of being touched by spirit happens in the aura. It doesn't physically happen to you. Sometimes it feels like that. But here's what's going on. The etheric layer of your aura is, can you see me tracing this with my mouse? I don't know. Okay. So the etheric layer is like right by your body. It's right there, right? And then there's another layer that's your emotional aura, the emotional layer of your aura, and then mental, and then astral, and then the etheric template. And this is where spirit and you connect. This is where you and God, you and your intuition, you and your higher power, this is where that the mist, the veil is thin, and your aura connects with something external, right? So the etheric template, when spirit touches in on the etheric template, it exactly mirrors the etheric aura that's right by your body. That's not an egg shape, the one that's like right by you. The etheric template, egg shape. The etheric aura right by your body. When spirit comes in and blends with you and touches you at that etheric template, you feel it because it's a mirror. It's a mirror of the etheric aura. So you feel it at this level, but they're really out here. So never be scared that spirit is actually jacking with you. And spirit's not going to, because you're going to set an awesome intention. You're not going to have anything bad happen to you. And you're going to do this responsibly and ethically, right? So there are many layers to the aura. This class alone is a full hour. I just want to make sure that we touch in on it. So what is it that the aura needs for high performance intuition? Our auras are heavily impacted by technology. So yeah, be outside, put your feet in the dirt, start beekeeping, start your own garden, get your hands dirty. I like to buy those wave blockers every couple of Christmases. I think the company is actually called Wave Blocker. I'm not affiliated, but you can get these little sticker things, and they go in your earbuds, they go on your phone, they go on your laptop, and they help with blocking that the waves, the frequencies of our technology. It's always good to have natural elements in the room. So, you know, I'm anytime I'm on the computer, I like light a symbolic candle to just kind of cleanse the energy of the computer, right? So doing something natural can be really helpful. Doing a sound bath, doing a visualization. I do that in all of my classes, right? Visualization. I really want to just briefly touch on your human design, your strategy and authority. We all have a different aura type. If you're new to human design, let me know. I have a great resource for you, a landing page on my site, but your aura type is different. We're not all built the same in our auric field. And this is so overlooked in the field of intuition and psychic development. Your aura is different than mine. So let's work with your aura. I can teach you all of my tricks of the trade for me, but I would rather you know you, right? So don't hire a psychic, become one. Let me help you work with your aura. Let me help you work with your moon sign, with how you are intuitive, right? And then I'm also an affiliate for the X39 light patches. These light patches, I kind of feel like I'm on, oh gosh, what is the name of that? Well, I feel clear is what I'll say when I put them on. And so this is something that definitely makes me feel like my aura is clean and clear. I'm also using, look, here's a grounding mat. Do you guys have grounding mats? I put these under my feet when I'm doing sessions. And so your feet go on this dark side. There's the other side. I use a foot bath sometimes when I'm doing sessions. So I'll put my feet in an ionic foot bath. You can find them on sale, on special around the holidays. These are just some of the things that I like to do to make sure that my aura is taken care of. So I'm trying to be respectful of time here. Thanks for hanging with me. Let's get through the chakras. The chakras you're familiar with are these spinning energy centers along your spine. They, of course, extend above your spine, below your spine, into the heart of the earth. There's many, many more chakras than the 7 that we study. Of course, you guys all here know what chakras are. I don't need to do chakra 101 for you, or chancla 101, as my yoga teacher says. Chanclas are flip-flops in Spanish. Chanclas. But the idea here is that each of these energy centers is a way to connect intuitively. You know, you can open up this little periscope or this little lens inside of yourself. So some of you are going to open up your throat chakra and be able to get information that way. Some of you are going to open up your heart, your solar plexus, your sacral. You're going to open up it differently in your different chakra systems to access intuition. Have you guys played with that? That's a really fun exercise, is to go through the chakra system and get information intuitively. So I didn't talk about ethics this time. I guess I have this belief that we're all ethical here, but just a disclaimer, we never read for somebody else. We never read for somebody that hasn't asked us to, that we don't have permission for. So this is more about accessing information for yourself or somebody who you have gotten permission to practice with, right? But yeah, getting info through the chakras and through the different lenses of them is a super fun thing to add to your psychic development practice. So what do the chakras need for high performance intuition? Easy thing to do is to do a color meditation or a visualization. I like to do in Shavasana, the corpse pose, the last pose in yoga, when you're laying still and the lights are off and you can be quiet, right? Then you go through and you just like visualize this beautiful blazing Crayola red, cherry red light at the bottom of the spine. And then you visualize a beautiful orange citrus light, right, in the area below your belly button. And then in your belly button and above, this beautiful golden liquid white light emanating from you and all the way up. And you visualize the different colors, the prettiest form of that color that you can think, the most beautiful emerald leafy green, right? The most beautiful turquoise ocean, right? All the way up. And just the visualization of that does have a cleansing, purifying, reoxygenating effect on your chakra system. So that's your color meditation. That's a visualization anybody can do anytime to have a little reset. You can also rub your hands together and start to feel the energy over each chakra, right? You guys, you can use a pendulum and say, oh yeah, your chakra isn't operating at full capacity. You know, there's a lot of different ways people read chakras, right? So you could use a pendulum and do it over your head and your throat and your heart and say, oh yeah, this one's feeling a little dull. If you're reading psychically, maybe the color is very pale and that's indicating that somebody's not doing so hot in that department. Maybe it's very vibrant and you're like, wow, you really have something to say. I can see all this beautiful color in this area. And so you can start to use your intuition with the chakras that way. I have an awesome third eye clearing I like to do in my classes too. Sometimes we get this band of protection around our third eye. There can be a lot of denialism going on. Like we don't want to accept things as they are. We want them to be better. We want the people in our life to live up to some ideal. We're not willing to embrace them as they are. This third eye clearing, removing this band of denialism, is part of your chakra healing and clearing. So, whew, I talk fast. You guys doing okay? All right. All right. So there's different styles of intuitive connection. We've gone through these before. I want to just check the chat. Let's see. Excited to try the color. Oh, thanks, Des. Look at you, Link Queen. Thank you. Lucinda, she's been getting cabin fever, wants to get outside and walk in nature. Okay, yeah, EMF protection. Thank you. I couldn't think of that word earlier, Misha. So the different styles of intuitive connection is also something that we study astrologically, right? And so if you are somebody who emotionally feels things, so you're getting your information and it comes through your emotions, and you're crying all of a sudden for no reason, or you're feeling upset, or you get a rush of something going on in you, and you're feeling that emotionally, right? That's usually if you have your moon in a water sign, or you have a lot of water in your chart, right? If you're just getting kind of that more intellectual information where you're hearing things, you're seeing things, it's kind of all upstairs, right? That's more of you would say like an air moon. You could look at earth moons, you could look at fire moons, and the way that you were born, right? Your aura type and your moon is going to give you more understanding of how your intuition works individually. So my role as a teacher of spiritual development is to help you find what yours is and develop that. So that, we find the right position for you on the team. You know what I mean? We find the right natural skills and talents you have to build. But in terms of doing that, in terms of finding your own natural skills and talents, we want to practice all of them. We want to practice the scales of the piano and the flute and the guitar and teach you drums, and then figure out where you are and say, oh yeah, oh yeah, that's a great, so let's put you in the flute. That's awesome. But at least you know how to play every single instrument, right? And so discerning the different intuition styles, but also knowing what yours is what I hope that you feel empowered to do. So today, I just want to remind you that you're here. We're all here to live some kind of life of service work that gives us joy. I love how Jess talks about it in terms of work optional life, because when work is optional, I show up with my full heart. I am excited to hang out on a Sunday and teach. You know what I mean? None of you have to be here, and we're all here. This is optional, right? So I want to inspire you to find your service work, right, in a way that you can show up and feel amazing and feel excited and feel happy to be here, you know? To trust your nervous system regulation is really essential in finding that work optional lifestyle and finding your intuitive path, all of that Jess taught us. Again, practice isolating your senses. I just went through that. Practice switching your awareness centers. Okay, now I'm going to get the information that I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it, I'm tasting it, right? I'm using my chakras as camera lenses. I'm using my soul. I'm using all of the tools, the intuitive tools that I have. So practice switching your awareness centers. It's so important that you are cognitively aware of your emotions, what you feel versus the information you're receiving. How do you know that you're not making it up? How do you know that you're not creating some creative story? How do you know the voice of God versus the voice of Tiffany? How do you know, how do you discern those things? What news is real, right? And so the more you strengthen switching your awareness centers, the stronger that intuitive connection is going to be. And you're not going to second guess yourself. Well, I kind of think that I heard this, but I don't know. I could be making it up. Don't ever come to my class and say that. You are not making it up. You know what I mean? You heard something, you saw something, and we want to cheerlead and strengthen that connection and build those neural pathways and give you some success so that you feel really empowered when you're making your own intuitive connections. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the 6-week class that I'm hosting starting on Tuesday, but this is what class 1 is about: discerning my information, the information that I know versus what I'm picking up on the rest of the world. So if I go into a coffee shop and I'm centered and grounded and I know myself and I'm bombarded because I'm open, because we're all psychic, right? And I get all of this information and worry and joy and upsetness and all of the things that you feel when you're in the presence of other people. It's the same thing that happens psychically for you. So you sit down and you practice your intuition, you practice psychic development. There's all this information in the field. How, when you pick up something with psychometry, right? Like, look, where's this crystal been? I'm holding it when I'm practicing psychometry. Maybe I would say like, oh, 1970s crystal shop. Maybe you would say Himalayas 1982. Maybe somebody else would pick up another layer of information about this one thing. So we have to discern, the information that we're getting. That's going to be class 1. Keep your eyes open while you're reading. I get a lot of people that are learning intuition that like are doing this. Where are you going? You're isolating a sense, which is a way to practice. Like, okay, now I'm not seeing with the physical eye, so I'm going to be more in tune with something. So that's okay. But I want to encourage you to practice with your eyes open. I want to teach you to turn your nose into wows so that you are confident. I have I'm actually going to post about this later because it's so good. I have so many stories of times when I've used my intuition in a psychic session, told somebody something, and they've said no. And I'm like, all right, wait for it. Because now I trust, now I trust. I'm not worried about did I get it right or wrong. I know I got it right and that you're having psychic amnesia and you're going to catch up. But I was having this session and I told this girl, all right, I'm getting a charm bracelet. And she said no. And because I'm really struggling to see it. Like there's something about Irish luck charm bracelet. And she was like, absolutely not. And I kept at it. And 30 minutes went by. I came back to it. She's like, absolutely not. We got off the phone and she texted me a picture. She literally had a bracelet on her wrist that said charm on it, on the letters. And so I post it periodically because it's such a great story of sometimes they just can't see in the moment what you're saying, but it's right. So you have to just trust yourself and let it go and not be attached, not let your ego worry about if you got it right. So biochemical regulation, why am I raising my hand? Technology. Let's see. Biochemical regulation is something that has just changed everything for me. I did have quite a bit of a health journey the last couple of years with some stones that were removed, and that was the last piece. That was the missing piece. So now, as we have rebuilt my gut lining, as my hormones have balanced, as I have slept. Do you guys sleep? Do you just are you like a normal person that just goes to sleep and wakes up in the morning? I've never been that my entire life. I'm 43 and now I am. And yes, my intuition is improved and it was pretty good, So that piece is huge. Practicing in a supportive environment is huge. You need the yeses, you need the cheerleading, you need that's okay, you need the you got it right. And then in order to strengthen your neuroplasticity. So there's 2 calls to action today, guys. First of all, thanks for hanging out with us. Please put something in the chat that you learned today. I want to know what impacted you. I want to know what you're excited about, what felt like juicy and good and fun. The first call to action is if you feel like trying out the intuition protocol that Jess and I developed together. I'm excited for you because your world's about to change. It is good stuff. You don't have to get all of it, no, but if you get all of it, if you're all in, you're going to have a whole new experience. And then the second call to action is that my psychic development circles are starting on Tuesday. I have an add-on for the first time ever. If you want one-on-one mentorship with me, where it's just you and me practicing, we will set that up during that 6 weeks. So this is the last slide, don't worry. Fine-tune your intuition with me, right? We're starting on Tuesday. I talked about discerning emotions. The second one, we're going to go through and build some muscles, some psychic muscles around knowing, seeing. We're going to read photographs. Are you guys practiced at that? It's so fun to read photographs. There's several rules of the road. There's strategies. There's a clear plan for reading a photograph that I'm going to teach you. The next one is about hearing psychic information. We're going to do some skill building there. Force connections is my absolute favorite. If you're attending live, this is the one to not miss. It blows my mind every time. I love it. This is my favorite class to teach. And then I'm going to teach structure of doing a psychic reading. And then we're going to have some final practice. So I charge $250 for the 6 weeks, but if you use the code 1 month and you join my membership, right, then you get 25% off of everything. So if you're a member, you get 25% off. You can be my member for 1 month for free and get the code, and it makes it $187. I'm only going to take 6 mentors. So if that sounds like something that mentees, I'm only going to take 6 mentees. If that sounds like something that you want to do to work with me personally, please message me so we can have a little discovery call and see if we're a good fit. I put some resources and references together of at least some of the pieces that have sciencey stuff in there. If anybody wants that, grab a screenshot. I'm going to stop my share so I can see your pretty faces. Oh, we did it. Just 5 minutes to spare. So I'm going to unpin us. And please let me know what questions you have. Yeah, and oh gosh, Anne, no problem. Yeah, I'll get the replay out today, tomorrow. Your biggest takeaway, Jody, is understanding why you haven't been able to connect, and now it's biochemical. It really changes things. We should teach this more, right? Rosie liked the chakra meditation. Yes, gonna try it in Shavasana. Stephanie has a paper full of notes. Awesome. Okay. What intuition is, less fear around symptoms, energies, amazing. Kristen says the charm bracelet story blew my mind because I was finally adding 2 charms during the presentation to a bracelet she was gifted and hasn't. Yeah, isn't that funny? You know, spirit will kind of wake you up a little bit. Another one says loved learning about gut intuition connection. Jess in the financial intuition. Let's see, definitely like to do this. Okay. Amazing. This is helpful to me. Thank you for being here. If you have some questions, we'll hang out for a little bit longer. Yeah, Misha says the fun fact of pain and depression being the same manifestation, just in different areas. Yeah. Okay. Well, awesome. I always get self-conscious when I talk that fast. It's because I want you to have a lot of information and I want to be sensitive to your time. So thank you guys. I'm gonna look at all your faces. Some blessings.
We
Love
did have
you.
one more question. Somebody
Okay.
had asked me about parasites and gut health and recalibrating the gut and the gut-brain connection with parasites. So I wanted to address that. First is you definitely want to get tested for that. I recommend GI maps for that. That's outside. You don't need to get that with a somebody who like a functional practitioner or something, but that's really eye-opening to see what it is you're treating, right, with the parasites. But yeah, so after you know what it is, and then you do the parasite, die-off process, then you'll need to go back and repair the gut and the gut-brain connection, which is where that intuition protocol would really be helpful. But the parasite cleanses, similar to like antibiotics, you want to do that and then space out your probiotics and kind of that replenishment a little bit, just by 4 hours actually. But hopefully that answered your question. I don't know if anybody else is dealing with parasites, but we get a lot of mystery health symptoms, right? So that's yeah, we're here for you. Welcome.
Yeah. Okay, and then I'm just putting the intuition protocol link here. Okay, so you have all those. I'll email you those 3 links in the replay too. Go be psychic. Don't hire a psychic. Become one. You are psychic. You're born wise. You have all the gifts inside of you. They're not out there. They're right here. I can help you access that. I want to help you access that. I want you to feel empowered. And any last tips for intuition in the full moon tomorrow? Yeah, the full moon's in eclipse tomorrow. It's an eclipse and it's in 5 degrees of Libra, and so sometimes the full moon is basically marking a point in time when 18 months ago something was seeded, some new intention was made. What wishes were you making 18 months ago around your own relationships, around balancing things out? Libra, this is such a great astrological time to have this talk. But yeah, any tips for intuition around the full moon? I mean, essentially, because it's an eclipse, we're going to be disconnected really for that short period of time. So you might be feeling like maybe the full moon is not the right time to access your intuition during an eclipse. And maybe you experiment with it and you say, no, Tiffany, that actually I got more hits, I got more dreams, I got more clarity. I don't know. You're going to have to play with that personally, because where does that eclipse hit your chart? Is it in the heart of your intuition? Is it next to all the fixed stars that indicate that you are an intuition queen? Is it hidden, and is it in your subconscious mind? Where's 5 degrees of Libra in your chart? And I'll be able to help you work with that a little bit more. Yeah. Met my boyfriend 18 months ago and we're both Libras. Yeah, exactly. So you can see it playing out in real time. That's so cool. Thanks for that comment. We're part of like the metonic cycle of eclipses is a 19-year cycle. So you can also look back 19 years ago at what was going on, what themes were happening. We're in 2024. So if you look back around 2005, so for me, I was having my daughter in 2005, and this morning I went through all of her baby things, and it was really hard for me. I put her stuff, I'm giving it to a women's center. I'm not giving all of it. I'm keeping my cute little things, but it's a lot less than I have been hanging on to. So she moved out of my body in 2005, and she's moving out of my house in 2024. She's going to college, smart young lady, and I'm super proud of her. I couldn't be more proud of her. She's awesome, Sag. But these themes that you can see 19 years ago for the metonic cycle of the eclipses that are happening this year, you might notice some of the themes. I had somebody comment and say, well, everybody died in 2005 and I don't want to do that again. And my comment to that was, well, I had a baby in 2005 and I don't want to do that again, 43, like, no. So I had somebody else comment and say, what were they doing? At first they didn't see the connection, but then we were able to weave the connection together. So if at first it doesn't quite make sense, or you're like, nah, 2005 was a wash, it might make sense over time. It might be subtle for you, but I'm working on the mother-daughter relationship theme. That's my version of Libra. Right. And so there's themes that circle back up for healing, for love, for blessing. And yeah, that's some ways that you can work with it. Hurricane Katrina was happening for Misha in 2005 in high school. Just had attended an alumni picnic for her high school yesterday. See, it's like you can't even, I mean, astrology, like, Des and I were joking about this. The skies don't lie. The skies don't lie. It's a clear map of time, and it's so fun. So Brandy was there too, she says. Wild. What is the deal? Oh, I love it. And it always surprises me. And it always makes me happy. I get a dopamine hit, when the astrology just maps up and lines up together. All right, it's 3:33. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Hope to see you around the community. My heart goes out to you. Set your intentions. You're going to be more intuitive tonight. Yeah. All right. Good night. I'm just going to remove, okay. All right.